Hey guys, what's up? Cynicalex, and today I thought I would take a look at the 6 characters from the new Avengers special missions because I know all of you, whether you're veterans, new players, anyone, has to tier 2 these characters in order to complete the quest pack All Things New to get that juicy CTP of Destruction. And it's been out for long enough that I think the majority of players have all of these characters tier 2, but I imagine that there are a lot of you out there who just tier 2'd them, got the CTP of Destruction, put it on a better character like Jean Grey or War Machine or Weapon Hex, and then completely forgot about these 5 characters here plus Gwenpool. So I wanted to do a kind of a quick breakdown, a kind of a short and dirty list of all 6 characters, give them a bit of a ranking, a bit of a best use, best practices, and small build advice for each of them. If you guys like this kind of content, I absolutely have another one following that I can follow up with about the Inhuman special mission for the CTP of Authority, so just let me know, and if not, I'll know. So we're going to start off with White Tiger. White Tiger is a combat hero who specializes in kind of stuns with some immunity, but she's fairly low power level, so I would say her best use is probably Shadowland. The reason for that is she has pretty low damage. I would say if I had to categorize it, it's probably a 4 out of 10. Survivability is probably a 6 out of 10. And then her utility, which is like stuns and other things that she brings to the table, is probably about a 5 out of 10. Now, listed, I believe she only has 1 stun, which is her 5th skill, Tiger Ambush, has a 3-second stun at the beginning, but if you play her long enough in Shadowland, you'll learn, or if you remember Shuri's 2nd skill, because they're the same, her Tiger Spirit has a hidden 2-second stun at the end of the skill. So that's a 5-second worth of stun altogether. You combo that with her Amulet Shield, which gives her 5 seconds of immunity, and you can basically keep your opponents in Shadowland either constantly stunned, you got 5 seconds of stun, or constantly unable to kill you or do damage to you because you have the immunity up. So that's 10 full seconds. Now you do need maximum skill cooldown, and you do need some good timing, but it's fairly easy to pull off. She has fairly good AoE, which is what makes her good for Shadowland. I think even at tier 1, she can do some early Shadowland stages alone because of that. But her damage is really low, so you're going to have to build her if your damage is not there, if you're not really, clearing it within the 3 minutes. In terms of a build, I would probably say Power of Angry Hulk is the best set for her because of the attack speed, allowing you to rotate through that 2nd skill faster to get that damage and to get that stun off. For an Obelisk, I wouldn't go anywhere near a CTP, but I'd probably go for something with max HP to kind of give her a few more hits to survive, a bit more room to make mistakes. Or go for something that has crit damage or crit rate with a proc, with a damage proc, because she has the Amulet or the Animal Instinct passive, which does give her a pretty nice 25-30% to crit damage and guaranteed crit. That's how I would build her, and I'd probably wouldn't use her outside of Shadowland. Moving on to Wiccan. Wiccan is a little bit better for the utility. He's a blast hero. In terms of his damage, I'd probably say it's about a 5 out of 10. It's a little bit better than White Tiger's, but not that much better. Survivability is a little bit worse. It's a 4 out of 10 because it's just a few iframes here and there. It's nothing immunity-wise or invincibility-wise or guard hit-wise, and he has no healing. But his utility is really where Wiccan shines, specifically at tier 2, and that's why we give him a 7 out of 10 for utility. So he's got the 24% leadership. But also with his tier 2 passive, specifically, Magic Field applies to all allies. So you can use this in a couple of different ways. You can use Wiccan's leadership and 20% ignore dodge for someone like Corvus World Boss Ultimate, so you automatically have 20% ignore dodge. You can switch one of the strikers out, and you can put in like a better damage dealer or Scarlet Witch or something like that. Additionally, that 1 second increase into the duration of Snare and Pierce, any skill that has a pierce effect, which is, there's a lot of skills with pierce and penetration now, and any skill that has snare effect as a listed part of it. So this is a bind effect. This is penetration. I don't think he has a snare. He doesn't have any snares, but for any characters that have snare or pierce, you get more duration. So you can use this in 2 ways. You can use this in Shadowland to give other characters more time snared to increase their crowd control. Alternatively, or additionally, you can use Wiccan very effectively in Alliance Conquest. That's because he has a lot of AoE on his snares and or kind of his binds and stuns, especially Spell Wave. And if you combo Wiccan with another character who's heavy on crowd control, like let's say Songbird, who we'll mention later in the video, then you will have a pretty nice combo, and then her snares get 1 second increase duration, and you can kind of lock down stronger teams that way. And I've used that combo to effect. In terms of what I would build for Wiccan, I would probably go with something like Guard Break Immunity and Ignore Dodge. Those two are really good for Alliance Conquest, and then Invincibility, or if you can't get the Guard Break Immunity, or if it's too valuable, something like Ignore Dodge HP Invincibility, because it'll give him a bit more time to survive. But generally, I would say build your Wiccan defensively. Still go for Power of Angry Hulk for the ISO 8 set, because you want that max attack speed to rotate through his skills more efficiently. We come to the ugly duckling of the new Avengers, Hulkling, probably the last tier 2 that everyone did to unlock that CTP of destruction. And yeah, rightfully so, Hulkling is a pretty bad character. He's not the worst character in the game, and he is definitely part of the dead meme society, but yeah, you're not really going to get much out of building him even at tier 2. His damage, survivability, and utility are all hovering around the 3 to 4 range. His utility is pretty bad because he only has 1 stun. He's got a 3-second stun on Skydive Swoop. He's got a guard break on his first skill, but it's really not that good. He has a bit of movement during his skill animations, but no iframes, no guard hit, nothing. So it's very hard to keep him alive. And yes, his tier 2 passive gives him 2 seconds of immunity, but he has to get hit for the immunity to trigger, and then you have to wait 18 seconds for it to trigger it again, which is basically impossible. I mean, you'd need to give him like a CTP of refinement, the egg, for him to actually survive the first Skrull Skin trigger to get to the next trigger of that passive. So it's a pretty bad character overall. I wouldn't really build him with too much love or care. I would still go, I don't have any ISO 8 set, but I'd still go with probably Power of Angry Hulk, to get that attack speed so that he can go back to his other skills a little bit more easily, and he can kind of keep characters guard breaks, kind of guard break stunned, I guess, or guard braked. In terms of the gear, I would go with HP and Invincibility, because as a combat type, he does have a higher base HP than others, and then just, you know, hope that his tanking is good enough for the content that you're using him in, but I wouldn't use him in anything other than Shadowland. Moving along to the last 3 here, we've got the 3 ladies, Songbird, Squirrel Girl, and Gwenpool. In Songbird's case, she's kind of like Wiccan, except she's more of a single target version of Wiccan. She's got a lot of stun and a lot of bind, so she's got, 6 seconds of crowd control that you can rotate through aggressively, which makes her very good for Shadowland stages, even at tier 1. When you tier 2 her, you get an additional increase to the duration of snare, so now it's going to last, instead of 3 seconds, it lasts 4 seconds. She's got an additional stun on her passive, so you can get lucky even if you're not hitting with one of those first 2 skills of hers, and she's got a guard hit. With all that being said, her damage is pretty low. I'd probably put her at a 4 out of 10 for damage, a 4 out of 10 for survivability, because she really only has the guard hit, but then her overall utility is a little bit higher. It's a 6 out of 10 because of the binds and the stuns, so I would give her a little bit of a higher score, a little bit less than Wiccan, but still quite good. Still, I wouldn't use Songbird for anything other than Shadowland and Alliance Conquest, and remember, if it's not Conquest, use her auto attack. Trust me. Moving along to Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl is probably one of the better characters overall from the new Avengers, possibly the second best character, and it's a combination of things that make her good. If I had to rate out her damage and utility and survivability, I'd put her around the 5 to 6 range. The reason why she's actually better than that, 5, 5, 6 does not equal 6 in terms of the averages, but she has really short cooldowns on multiple skills, and that's really important because she has multiple skills that are either iframes or stuns. So especially Squirrel Bombs and Scurry Roll, you'll use her in Shadowland, and you can rotate through these 2 skills if you have low attack speed, and she'll either stun for 2 seconds with an iframe, or she'll just jump on your head and stun you. Or sorry, I think this one's the jumping, and this one's the one where she throws stuff at you. Either way, she's got 2 long iframes with short cooldowns, which is a nightmare for something like Alliance Conquest. So she's actually very good for Alliance Conquest, a very underrated character. She's also got the summon, which can take pressure off of her, and she's got another stun with her uniform that adds on another 3 seconds. Her damage is low, so you do need to pay attention to that in Shadowland if you want to clear with her and you're not using any sort of support and you're not fighting against universal types, because she has a 25% increased damage against universal types to kind of reference the time that she beat Thanos and the Watcher was there. But overall, she is a pretty flexible character. I wouldn't take her into World Boss because her damage is quite low there and the stuns and stuff are not going to work. But if you were going to build her, I would say probably Overdrive or Hawk's Eye. I would try to stay away from Power of Angry Hulk if you want to take advantage of that kind of dual iframe shenanigan stuff. But Power of Angry Hulk is still a good set because you get a lot of extra HP from the Chaotix, which you can use to buff her summon. And then, you know, something with crit HP and a damage proc for her custom gear if you don't have a CTP, or something like Guard Break, max HP invincibility. The max HP synergizes well with Tippy, her summon. And then the Guard Break would be for her to not get locked down. A CTP of Patience is pretty good as well on her because the all attack synergizes with her summon, and then the dodge does synergize with the small amount of guaranteed dodge that she gets to buff her survivability, so it's not bad. Finally, we come to Gwenpool, probably the best character of the bunch. You definitely want to pick up her uniform. She's the only other character besides Squirrel Girl who even has a uniform, but Squirrel Girl's uniform is not as much of a buff, but for Gwenpool it is. Without her uniform, her passive heal is 1% recovery every 1 second, with a cooldown of 2 seconds. With her uniform, it's 5%, so she gets a 4% buff on her heal, which is bananas. It's a huge jump to her survivability. It's not Deadpool, it's not Wolverine, but it's pretty damn good. As far as the character's overall stats go, I'd probably give her like a 7/7 out of 10 for damage and survivability, which is on the high end of things. Her utility is pretty low because she only has the stun on bombs and blades, but she does have long iframes on bullet rain and gift special. She has a stun on gift special, but it's part of the iframe, so it's not really counted. It's not like 3 seconds after the iframe, it's during the iframe. She also has some guard breaking abilities on some of her other skills, which does make it easier for her to kind of lock down opponents, but it's really a combination of good damage, good AoE, and that massive survivability that makes her a useful character. I would probably give her something like recovery, and then HP, and then a proc if you want to give her something offensive, or something like HP recovery and invincibility for something defensive. You could go with Guard Break, but Guard Break, recovery, invincibility is super valuable for better characters, so I probably wouldn't give it to Gwenpool as a first, second, or even third choice if I had most of the characters unlocked. As far as the ISO 8 set goes, I have Hawk's Eye, but especially with her uniform now, I think Power of Angry Hulk or Overdrive are best. She doesn't have any attack speed buffs, so I would probably lean towards Power of Angry Hulk and re-roll this if I wanted to kind of set her up to be as good as possible. And unlike the other characters, I think Gwenpool is available and is, you know, a decent choice if you're out of options or if you want to challenge yourself for low world boss ultimate, in addition to being decent for both Shadowland and Alliance Conquest. So overall, I think that the scope of the new Avengers characters is pretty small. I think they're generally weaker characters. They have their uses and their niches, and some of them have support capability, but in general, I wouldn't put too much of an investment on them. I hope to see them all getting uniforms that really bring them back to a stable level in the meta. Maybe not, you know, on the meta list, like competing for top 10, but at least around, you know, top 50, because they're interesting characters, they're quirky, they're unique, and they have uniforms available to them. They're, you know, they're definitely popular enough in the comics that they have different looks, and that they have enough, you know, fans that want to see them in the game that maybe we will get something for them in the future. But that CTP of Destruction is worth it all by itself. Hit me up in the comments, let me know what you guys think of this type of segment. Of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.